Hi folks, Marty here. It's been a wee while since I've been on, but what I'm going to do today is test out a set of paints. If you remember my other video, which I'll put up in the description there, we tested out some inexpensive paints compared to expensive paints, and they did really well. I was really impressed with them, and I remember talking to the good folks over at Camp Bromley. And they says, well, if you like them, why don't you have a go at these, test these and see how you get on with them. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to test out a set of Rosa paints. And this is what's called their classic set. It has 12 different paints in it. So what I'm going to do is, this is totally unscripted. So I'm just going to do a very basic little painting and try and use as many colours in it as I can, just to see how I get on with them. Okay, so I haven't tested these for light fastness, translucency and all the other bits and pieces that you would do if you were doing a full review, but we'll give it a go anyway and see how we get on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the sky a wee bit of a spray here. And then I'm using a couple of mop brushes here. That kind of idea here, just to lay in big washes. I'm just going to grab a wee bit of cobalt and a bit of ultramarine. I'm just going to drag in a bit of sky here. Just soften that up a bit. And then I'm going to throw in a wee bit of raw sienna there. So it's a bit of a moody kind of a sky. And then throw in a wee bit of red there, just to warm that up as well. And as we get down towards the horizon, maybe a bit more red. So far, so good. I'm liking these paints. They're certainly doing everything that I need them to do, everything that I would require of them anyway. So what I'm going to do is I want to bring that on down into the water here. And on down into the foreground. So you're kind of almost like reflecting the sky there, only obviously it'll be a wee bit darker here. So I'm going to bring that on down. Obviously there's going to be rocks and stuff that's going to go with that. Okay, so I'm going to turn my attention back to the sky now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out pull out a wee bit of sun here. And then what I'm going to do now is mix up a slightly darker colour here. I'm going to put in a bit of cloud work in here. So I want a bit of a warm blue. So that's a bit of cobalt and a bit of yellow ochre there, and maybe a wee bit of alizarin. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag in some clouds and stuff. I don't want those clouds to be too hard edged, so I'm going to give it just a wee spritz there. You're just giving me the impression that these clouds are just blowing in overhead. And then down here in the horizon, a bit of stronger cloud work. Just underneath where the sun is breaking through there, or disappearing, depending on what you want. A bit of stronger cloud work here. And then I'm not going to dry that with the hair dryer right away, because I want it to fuse and blend nicely. So what I might do is just get a wee brush and just mop up any excess water by just touching that. Okay, and with watercolor, timing is everything. If you want to put on some distant hills here and so on, you know, you just, if you dry this or wait till it's too dry and you put that on, you're going to get this real hard edge. But what we want is something a bit soft and diffused looking. So I'm trying to just get it the right amount of dryness on the paper. Alright, I think we'll give that a go. I normally should wait for a bit longer, but I know we've all things to do, and the last thing you want to do is sit around watching on paint dry. Okay, so I'm just gonna test that out on the side here. Still a bit too strong. So you don't want this too wet, and that's the tricky part. Okay, so we'll just drop that in here. So that's going to be like a distant hills and so on going on in the background here. So this picture is based on an idea from a friend who taken a lovely photograph of a loch, and I captured just right. His name's Peter, and some good friends there who are very good photographers. So that's that. We'll just let that sit in the background there, and try and get rid of any harsh lines. And then we'll maybe bring another one in over here. Okay, so you're getting a wee bit of blooming there, so what we'll try and do is just soften that up with a damp brush. We'll probably go over this again anyway. I think what I'll do is I'll mix up a slightly stronger colour. So it's basically your three primaries, but more leaning towards the blue there, and then we'll just drop that in there like that. Okay, so we're going to work on this area here. So again, we'll mix up a nice stronger colour there. In fact, we'll base it on that colour that we just kind of used there, and add a bit of green to it. So again, nice and thick. And then we'll just bring that down here. All right, and there's a little tar just across the lock there. So what we'll do is we'll add a bit of thick stuff in there. Something like that there. You don't want to draw too much attention to it. You want it to know it's there, but just indicate it. Just what I'm going to do now, I'm going to dry that off now and get ready for the next phase, if you like. Okay, so that's not dried off. So the next stage is just working on the water area here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try and mix up a bit of a turquoisey bluey colour. Now, I know you can get a lot of paints that are already made up like that, and they're really handy. But if you don't have them, you're just going to have to see what you can do. So I've just mixed the blue, the cobalt, and I think it's like a viridian there. I'm going to just neutralize that ever so slightly, just with a bit of yellow ochre. Okay, so once you get your volume made up of what you think you need. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to, I know I've dried this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread again just to, so when I catch that, I want to avoid a harsh line there. Okay, so just scoot that across there, and then bring it down here. Try and get a wee bit more quantity there. And what we'll do is we'll spray down the middle here. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that area that we created for the sun reflecting on the water there. So I just spread it, and I'm just lifting it out with a kind of damp brush there, just to keep that area there. Okay, now we'll throw a wee drop of purple into that, or alizarin crimson, and then we'll just scoot that around here where the rocks and so on are going to be. Okay, so that's nice and soft there. We'll dry that off. Okay, so that's our basic kind of washes in there. Okay, and we're going to keep this simple. We're not going to do too much here today. So I think the next thing we'll do is we'll get the little. It looks like a boat, sort of a trawler kind of thing. And the trick here is you don't want this to be. The problem is if I do this while that's bone dry, it's going to end up looking very, very sharp against our nice and soft background. So what I'll do is I'll mix up the colour first. So I'll take some of that bluey colour that's kind of muted a bit. I want it to be reasonably thick paint. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll get our wee spritzer and we'll just give it a wee look like that. And then we'll try that. So you're just indicating here, you're not wanting to be too detailed about any of this. And because I spritzed it there, you know, it should keep it nice and soft for me. And because it's in the distance, it's not going to have any shadow or reflection. And we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the next stage is to make up a dark kind of colour it's going to do for our rocks and so on. So we're going to maybe go into one of these browns here. Okay, and then just starting from the distance here, just going to So I'm just using a big brush here and I'm just dragging that over that. So you're not trying to paint every rock and so on here, you're just kind of giving it the impression. Maybe just go a wee bit darker here and there. Okay, I think we'll just leave that at that. We'll not go too mad on that. And then we'll dry that off. Okay, what I think we'll do is maybe we'll mix up some of that darker green. And give it the impression that there's maybe some shadow and so on around here. And then we'll soften that up a bit there. And then what we'll do now is we'll get a few wee birds on the scene here. Sometimes it's good just to get a wee practice run in here somewhere. And then I know it's not necessary, but if you want to, you can just get your eraser and just take out any any wee guidelines that you used initially just to map out your drawing. Just helps to clean it up a wee bit as well, but you don't have to. You can keep the pencil lines in, which is perfectly acceptable. So there you go, folks. That's a wee quick painterly sketch there. Just using this set of Rosa paints, and I must say I'm very impressed. They're very easy to work with, and they do exactly what you want. I was able to kind of think about the colours I would normally use in other paint brands and just very quickly get to what I needed with just those paints. Obviously, you know, I'd have to try something out with flowers and so on, just to see the translucency and how the layering works and so on. But so far, pretty well impressed. So folks, if you want to check out those Rosa paints, and if you're living in the UK anywhere, Ken Bromley, great company to deal with, I must say, and they've been very helpful throughout the years for me anyway. So folks, until the next time, just keep them brushes wet and just keep on painting away. Until then, I'll see you soon.